Hello learners, and welcome to today's lesson of multiples and factors. Let's get to it. So let's start off our lesson with an interesting fact. Did you know that there is no number that exists that does not have 1 as a factor? Yes, 1 is a common factor of all whole numbers. So let's look at the lesson objectives for this lesson. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to find the lowest common multiple, which is the LCM, of whole numbers using prime factorization. You will also be able to find the highest common factor, which is the HCF, of whole numbers using prime factorization. Our concept map for this lesson is that we are going to look at 3 points. So we are first going to look at prime factors, right? And then we are going to look at the lowest common multiple, and we're going to do that using prime factorization. Then we are also going to look at the highest common factor, and we're going to do that using prime factorization. Some pre-knowledge that you should know for this lesson. So you should know multiples of whole numbers. You should know factors of whole numbers. You should know at least the first 10 prime numbers. And then you should also know how to find the LCM and HCF of whole numbers by listing the multiples and the factors. Let's start with multiples of whole numbers. So find the multiples of the following. We now need to list the multiples of 3. Do you think you can list the first few multiples of 3? So this is 3, then we have 6, we have 9, 12, 15, and we know that those multiples can continue indefinitely, right? Let's list the multiples of the next number. So I'm going to use M to represent multiples. Let's list the multiples of 5. So as we did with the 3s, that is just counting in 5s. So we are going to list those multiples: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and you can continue with that list indefinitely. Let's list the multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, and you can continue with that list indefinitely. Let's go to the multiples of 12. Do you know how to list the multiples of 12? Let's list them. So we have 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, and you can continue with that indefinitely. Remember, multiples can continue until infinity. So now we've listed the multiples of numbers. Let's look at the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common multiple is that of the list of common multiples, we are looking for the lowest one. For example, the LCM for 10 and 12 is 60. We find the LCM for 10 and 12 as follows. So step 1, we're going to list the first 12 multiples of 10 and 12. Remember, multiples go on to infinity. We are just listing the first 12, hoping that we are going to find a common one within those first 12. So the multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, and 120. And then we have the multiples of 12, which are 12, 24, 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96, 108, 120, 132, and 144. So now, what are we going to do? We are going to identify the common numbers from these two lists. So let's look through the lists. Which ones are common? I'm pretty sure by now you've identified them. So we have 60 and we have 60. Both the multiples of 10 and 12, they have 60. But that is not the only common one. If we move further along our list, we have 120, we have 120 from the multiples of 10 and from the multiples of 12. So the common ones are 60 and 120. And if you were to continue with these lists, you would find more common multiples. But now our focus is on the lowest common multiple. So step 3 would be to identify the lowest. I've already listed my common ones in step 2. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to look for the lowest one. So between 60 and 120, which one is the lowest one? You are correct. It is 60. And that is how we find the lowest common multiple for these two numbers. We're going to now move on to the factors. So when we're looking at the factors, let's list the factors of 10. So the factors of 10, remember, these are numbers that we multiply together and then the answer is 10. So that is 1, then we have 2, we have 5, and we have 10. Remember, this is because 1 multiplied by 10 is 10 and 2 multiplied by 5 is also 10. That is why this is the factors of 10. Let's look at the factors of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Okay? This means that if you take a pair of these numbers, they are those that give you 12 as the result. Then we have the factors of 20. 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Lastly, let's look at the factors of 30. This is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. So we can list the factors of numbers. But now, how do we find the highest common factor? Firstly, the highest common factor is that of the list of common factors, we are going to be focusing on the highest one. For example, the HCF of 10 and 12 is 2. We find the HCF of 10 and 12 as follows. So step 1, let's list the factors of 10 and 12. We have already done that in the previous slide. So we know that the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. And the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Now from this list, which ones are the common ones? So we can see there we have 1 as a common factor and we have 2 as a common factor. And when you look through that list, there is no other common factor or common number. And our step 3 would be to identify the highest one. So between 1 and 2, which one is the highest one? Yes, you are correct. We have 2 as our highest common factor. For now, let's go to an ad break and then we will see you just now.